The following is a production of cprundown.com. The views and opinions expressed by the host of this podcast are those of the individual and not of any affiliated companies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rundown on Fun, a weekly podcast covering the Cedar Fair Entertainment Company, the amusement industry, and the business of fun. Here are your hosts, Karsten Anderson, Evan Schultz, and Kyle Hood.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Rundown on Fun, a weekly podcast where we cover Cedar Fair, Cedar Point, and everything to do with fun. And we're back for another preseason at Cedar Point, Haunt episode.
Yeah, we sure are. Let's just say that I had fun, in Florida. That was magical. I think Evan had fun when he finally got there.
It was something. We'll get to that.
Yeah, you'll have to stick around at the end because we're gonna give Evan's gonna give his very first time Halloween Horror
and
Nights.
y'all remember when Karsten went on a little tangent about American Airlines? Well, Frontier, y'all have no idea what's coming. Kyle, get the bleep button ready.
Ooh, I like that. That's interesting.
No, I'll censor myself, but I was not happy with Frontier. Anyways.
Fair. All right, let's just jump right in because we got a lot to talk about, and I'm just going to go right off the rip and say Top Thrill 2 is progressing very nicely. Unfortunately, a lot of us were not at the park this past weekend.
All of us.
Right. So we weren't able to get like actual up close pictures. We did. I think I posted a few pictures, the one day or something. But that will be we will be posting pictures this coming weekend for sure. But anyway, big update is Tony posted today that at the very very tippity top of the old Top Thrill Dragster Tower, they started painting it, and the very very top of the track is white. Obviously, with the renderings, this is towards the very, very top of the tower. It's going to be white, red, white, red, white, red, and then it's just going to be white all the way down. So that the painting looks like it has progressed. It looks interesting to say the least to see just the white, I guess, tip of the tower is white, and then but yeah. So then also real quick, we didn't get to take pictures of or anything. Is the big giant support columns that are for the drop, I guess you could say, are
The pull out.
Or the pull out if you want the pull out
And pull in because it's a spike.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you're going backwards and then forwards on it. Those have been installed, and those are massive. Like looking at those pictures, they look exactly like almost the size of that they used on the base of the actual spike tower. Those have been installed. They're still installing more, and it looks like they started on another footer for another station support, which is interesting because Evan and I don't think we caught it, but there's actually going to be 8 station supports and 8 like actual station like pillars. I think it's 8 or maybe it's 7. Can't remember. But
it's one more than current.
But it's one more that's what's currently there, which is really interesting. So I'm curious to see like how close they can make those station supports, the ones that like are currently there, look exactly the same and stuff. So I'm curious on that. And then they're gonna obviously have that awesome cool cutout in the station roof where it's gonna be an insane head chopper effect going backwards and forwards.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
In front of that and everything. And then also Tony did post I'd say like an hour or not an hour, minute and a half video or so of Top Thrill 2 update. Just kind of video around the site talking about what's going on and to look forward to more updates from Tony.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. Things are rapidly going pretty fast, and if you want to check out that video, it's on Cedar Point's YouTube page. That's all I got.
Yeah. It sounded like Tony's going to be posting stuff like that like once a month, so just keep an eye out on that.
Yeah,
and I think everything that we just said is pretty much talked about in that video. So
yeah. So if you don't want to watch the video, well, it's nice to watch the video because then you get some. I like to see visuals and things like that, So
yeah.
But yeah. So speaking of not being at Cedar Point, Evan, we were gifted an awesome review for the French fry. I guess you want to call the French fry weekend that they had last weekend. That
What is it? Happy Friars Fry Fest or something like that. I almost
think
said
so.
Frontier Fest.
We
That's
also
about
missed
it.
the awesome opportunity of missing Happy Friar. Like they actually had a Happy Friar out there. You could take pictures and tell them, I guess, what your favorite cut of fries are or something. But
Thank him personally for
I
his
was
gift
kind of
of French
sad.
fries.
I was kind of sad and bummed that we didn't get to see that, and didn't obviously get to try the fries. But Evan, you wanna talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so friend of the show, Jason Hammond, sent in a very in-depth review of all the fries. Him and his friend got to try them all, and shout out to Jason for sending us a review.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not going to read, verbatim what he sent us, but basically just give you guys a gist, even though obviously French Fry Weekend's over. You can't go back and get them again, but maybe something to ask and beg the park to keep on the menu for full time come next season.
Or
But
you just
anyways,
visit next year and do it next year.
so Jason seemed to go like worst to best with his review. So basically, his least favorite were the fully loaded French fries, which he said basically were just fries with loaded nachos with fries instead of chips. Nothing crazy. And then he moved on and said the Philly cheesesteak one was a bit better. He didn't really like the nacho cheese, but the peppers and onions were really good, and there was a good amount of meat, so that's good. I'm trying to like kind of read through and pick out the best parts. That was our third favorite. Okay, then he moved on to his second favorite, which was the Cuban one, which was, he says, a close second to the gyro or euro, however you want to pronounce it. French fries, those were his favorite. But the Cuban one, basically, he said if you're a fan of a Cuban sandwich, they nailed it. The pickles and mustard really cut through the saltiness of the ham and heaviness of the fries. These were delicious, and I would definitely have them again, he says.
I was when I saw the Cubans were like the French fries, like I was like, oh, Cuban French fries,
good.
like I really like
Very
Cuban spices and things like that. So
yeah, and then this is the one that I was wanting to try the most, and I've also heard a few other people say was the best, was the gyro or euro one. He said the tzatziki sauce was outstanding. Being the only one without a cheese sauce, things didn't hold together as well, but all worked together very well. Not listed in the description was also feta cheese crumbled all over the fries. This was our number one favorite.
That sounded like his descriptions and things like that, like sounded really good. Like,
he sounded like a true food like critic.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate it. Wish we had more time to go into more depth of it.
And I wish we had eaten them ourselves, but
right. But obviously, it's only for just that weekend, and we've got a big show that we are.
I also wanted to say that he also mentioned that the actual Happy Friar character was spot on, and he was really doing a good job head to toe in his.
I really should have asked him when he messaged me. I was like, oh my gosh, I should have asked him if he was like a holly jolly kind of like guy, like a.
Yeah, I feel like like the French fry version of Santa Claus.
Yeah, like the
you want some of my French fries?
I love it. No, I love it. I mean, it's good to get the kids involved, and it's good on Cedar Point for doing that. So I don't know if it was like
involved and get all the happy stuff out before HalloWeekends.
I don't know if it's like a person that's like just working rides is like, hey, by the way, you're not working on Saturday. Here's your costume. Here's your costume. We need you to, So I don't know. I thought it was a good touch or a nice touch by the park. I'm super excited about that. And
and hopefully we don't miss French Fry Weekend next year, because I really look forward to it last year, and I was looking forward to it again this year. And then I look at the calendar, I'm like, oh, that's when I'm in Florida.
Yeah.
Anyways,
before we get off of that topic fully, I want to say thank you again to Jason. Maybe do we have any CP Rundown swag we can send him? Maybe a pin or something, since he helped us out.
I can arrange that.
Yeah, let's arrange for that,
because Jason, definitely, I know you're listening, so definitely message me and we'll make something happen. So
yeah, we really appreciate that. All right, so much like our last episode, this is going to be a pretty in-depth haunt episode about our event, HalloWeekends. So
which starts tomorrow.
Yes.
Or if you could be listening to it on your way to opening night.
I'm gonna post this tonight. What's
Okay.
today? Wednesday, Thursday? I don't know.
I was gonna say, or
Wednesday.
the
Today's
next day.
Wednesday.
It started 2 or 3 days ago.
No, I'm gonna get it up
Yeah.
tonight. So
So basically, it starts tomorrow night. You're probably going to be listening to this on your way to your first HalloWeekends visit. So, what better time for us to talk about the houses, the zones, and of course the food and shows than
Let's
tonight?
say we should. By the way, if anybody doesn't know, it's Thursday through Sunday is HalloWeekends. A lot
Yes.
of people didn't even know that Cedar Point was open on Thursdays. There was.
Don't tell them I want to go on Thursday.
I
You
was
get through
reading the
everything.
comments on Cedar Point's page, and they were like, "Wait, what? Cedar like Jessica?" And Hannah's like, "You want to go on, Thursday?" She's like, "Cedar Point's closed on Thursday." She's like, "No, they're not. They're open." And I'm like, and then I chimed in. I was like, "Hey, by the way, just to let you know, Cedar Point's been open Thursdays for like 3 years now." They're like, "What?" So yeah,
yeah, I think I told this story last year, but in 2021, when they first started doing Haunt on Thursday nights, I had a senior level lab in college, and it was from 6 to 10 p.m. every Thursday. We only met once a week, and I skipped that class for about 7 weeks in a row to go to horror nights. I'm sorry, not horror nights, HalloWeekends every Thursday.
Yep.
I would I'd show up at 6, and then usually around like 7 or so, I'd say I have to go to the bathroom, and then I wouldn't come back.
and I think that's great. By the way, just
Then you get to
just
the park at 8 and be happy.
Yeah.
just a little note for us. It's actually called HalloWeekends. It's not called. Doesn't look like it's called Haunt anymore. So
Okay.
Oh, they dropped the
HalloWeekends.
haunt phrasing completely.
yeah, if you look on their website, it's like all about Cedar
Oh
Point.
yeah,
Hall
it just says like
Weekends.
daytime fun and nighttime. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
So just to throw that
So
out
we're,
there.
we're
But
back
anyway,
to the original because they just started that Haunt branding like 5 years ago. It didn't last
Yeah.
very long.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
I like the HalloWeekends because I mean they've obviously got like a lot of years under that name, which is, and I think HalloWeekends, like I think it really fits like
Yeah,
Cedar Point
it's
style.
unique to Cedar Point.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, so much like last week, do we want to just roll through the houses and the zones and
Yeah, let's
kind of give a description? I don't think we're going to be as in depth as Horror Nights because these don't change every year. But-
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's start off with the indoor haunts, or also called mazes. So number 1, Bloodbath. What has drawn you to this seedy and dangerous side of town? You come seeking Orpheus, a new private club that is the talk of the party elite. But within the music and lights is a mystery waiting for you. Are you brave enough to enter?
Okay.
I mean, obviously
I really
this
liked
was
that
new.
one last year.
This was new last year. I'm super excited about seeing what they possibly do for year 2, or if there's any changes and things like
It
that.
seemed like the decorations maybe were not complete last year, so I'm interested to see what they add to it because that was one of probably my favorite house. So
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if anyone is wondering where this is located in the park, this is the house within Steel Vengeance's midfield or infield.
Mm-hmm.
and if you hadn't been there in a couple of years, this is where Deprivation was and Eden Musée was years and
Yes.
years and years ago.
Yep.
All right. Next up is a new house, and I'm glad to see HalloWeekends are getting a new house. But this one has a real this location in the park has a real soft spot for me because this is the building that used to house Hexed, and that was the first house I ever worked at Cedar Point. Was Hexed.
Oh wow.
I worked
Rest
it.
in peace, Hex.
Yeah, I worked it the year that we changed from regular Hexed to Lights Out, so I was part of that opening crew.
Well, you were the guy that was passing out all the flashlights.
Actually, I was the guy in the bungee cage. If anybody remembers where that was in the
okay.
house.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you like think it's like almost like a cage, and then all of a sudden you can just like, wow.
Yes. So
Mhm.
that was my primary spot, and then our scare captain that year. And for those who haven't worked on or aren't familiar, a scare captain is pretty much the person who's in charge of the house. They oversee the operations. They make sure the actors are doing okay, all that stuff. Every night at 11 p.m., because HalloWeekends was open until midnight that year, he would come over the in-house sound system and say something along the lines of "The witching hour is upon us," and that was code word for us to just go nuts. No longer have to stick to your spot. No longer have to stay like super in character to who you've been. Just run around the house, have fun, make it a fun last hour. Let's get through the night.
Nice.
So I have some fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. Closing night of that year was a Sunday, and on Sundays we weren't open until midnight. We were only open until 8 p.m. All like 25 of us met in the foyer. You know, when you walk in and they had those steps and everything, and we followed the last group of the season through the house, like all 25 of us as a giant pack.
Oh my god.
So
I love that.
Yeah, I had some.
Those people are like, why are they all following us? What's
Yeah.
going on?
I had some fun in that house, but not to reminisce on the past. That's old news, and this is a new house this year. So, new Midnight. Mr. Midnight invites you into his mysteriously evil residence where you will be introduced to the Book of the Dark and all the fears, terrors, and horrors living within its pages. If he allows you to leave, you will never be the same. Dare to be his guest and see what the dark stories Mr. Midnight has written for you.
I'm so excited. This just sounds awesome.
We absolutely loved their character, Mr. Midnight, that they had and stuff, and he was all around the park. And wow, like obviously it's like the Book of the Dark or whatever is like. Remember, I don't know if you remember. Anyone remembers the stage on the stage show with Mr. Midnight. He was like, "I know all your dreams and nightmares," kind of thing, and like flipping through a book and stuff. So I'm so excited to see what they've got in this house.
They could do so much with this house. It's so exciting.
My.
And it's really awesome to see a character get his own house. Like it's nice to see HalloWeekends icon become get an icon, much like Horror Nights does. But it's really cool. This is really exciting.
I'm super stoked about it. Hopefully they found like those babies that were peeing at the
Happy Jack's Toy Factory.
Yes, yeah, and they're not peeing obviously anymore, but like they're like just creepily set up like somewhere maybe in the house or something or whatever. Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Mr. Midnight's whole thing is all, everything that is scary or whatever. So basically, they could do anything. Like they could have the creepy doll room, and then the next room could be like bugs, and then the next room could be just dark. Then the next room could be God knows what. So there's so much they can do. I'm afraid
of dolls. So
Are you especially afraid of peeing dolls?
No, I was trying to avoid them when they were doing that. But and then if they do like an insect, bugs, an insect room like spiders and things like that. I mean,
who knows?
A lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Spiders, God knows what.
Hopefully,
so it's really exciting.
Everything goes right. Hopefully, I'll be able to go to tomorrow and be able to update the podcast next week. Obviously, like we'll be visiting this weekend, so update on everything. So
all right,
continuing.
Next up is Fearground Freak Show. Step right up. Professor Von Fleece has searched the world, or at the very least the Tri-County area, to bring you a collection of sights, frights, and delights that are beyond belief.
That sounds like a new character. I don't remember that from last year.
I believe
or previous years.
Yeah, this might be the first year that they've described it as that. But I believe Professor Von Fleece is the barker out front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Super excited about it. I liked the freak show. I mean, you can't go wrong with like scary, like clowns and a bunch of freaks. So yeah.
All right. Next up on the list is a returning favorite, Slaughterhouse. The Spilton Trails Meat Factory is open for tours. Enjoy daily demonstrations by our butchers and see how the sausage is made. They're always on the lookout for a wide variety of meats, including yours.
I never liked that this one's just in the barnyard. Like, I mean, obviously they did that on purpose, but it's kind of sad, man.
They're like, oh, hey, by the way, that piggy that you just petted like 4 hours ago, I don't know. I like the slaughterhouse theme, and I like that when you like walk in like the specific area, everyone will know if they've done the house or whatever, where you like go in quote unquote the freezer, and it gets a little. They obviously have like some AC in there, so you could see like it's colder, so it mimics like a freezer kind of thing, and it smells like boxes and stuff. And
It
hopefully,
doesn't smell like boxes. It smells nasty in there.
hopefully they have what they had last year was like that extended
The
exit
little
of
outdoor
Slaughterhouse,
section.
where they had like a bunch of chainsaws and things like that. So that
Yeah.
was really cool. That was fun.
And I mean, the best part about Slaughterhouse is the views of Millennium.
Well, yeah, when you're waiting in line, yeah.
One of my favorite memories of that house was one year I went with my uncle to HalloWeekends, and we did all the houses. It was on a Saturday night, and he was wearing. It was late seasons. It was like end of October. He was wearing a coat that had his name stitched on it. It said Kevin. That's his name. And when we walked in the house, the door greeter, the person that Barker, that pretty much reads the rules of the house, like banged on the door, and they're like, "Hey, everybody, we got Kevin coming in the house." And they heard that, and they just went nuts. He was so confused because he had forgotten that he wore the coat with his name on it. So he's like, "How do you know my name?" And then people would come up to him and say his name, and he'd go, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. Who are you?" And,
I love that.
yeah.
I was gonna say, if you want to up your scare game or whatever with your friends, like if you're going through the houses and whatever, if you shout out one of your friends' names, the Screamsters, I know when Evan and I worked it and stuff and everything, like we freaking loved it. I'm sure Kyle
yeah.
loved it too. So
I
if you,
specifically remember working
wanna
in
mess
Erie
with them.
Estate and specifically listening, like, the room before ours,
mhm.
I'd hear whatever, somebody's name, like, "Oh my God, so-and-so, that was so scary." And I'm like, bingo, got him.
Yeah, you're like,
And
"Oh my
then-
gosh, Brad's coming," and you're like, "Oh, what's going on, Brad?" And you're like, "Wait, what? How does he know my name?" And
Yep.
the whole.
Yeah,
love
so in Erie Estate, the year that I worked there, which was not the year that you two worked there, we would have, if we had a guest that would come in and we knew their name, we'd pass it through the house. So if you remember when you walked into like the foyer that had all like the living room furniture and everything,
Yep, that's the room I was in.
okay, so there's a cut through right there that leads directly into the game room.
Yep.
And that was where I worked, along with Dean, was in the game room. So someone would poke their head in and tell me their name, and then after they got out of the game room, you go into the little like hallway that has the piano in it. So after they were out of my game room, I would then go through a back door and go into the room directly after the piano room, and then tell that person their name. That way we had it like passed throughout the entire house. So that was always fun.
Nice.
Green Coat's name is so-and-so. Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it. And
Got
people
'em.
get so confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
All right.
stuff.
Last up is The Haunting of Erie Estate. Be part of the Sandusky Paranormal Society's latest investigation as they descend into a mystery a decade in the making. Explore the abandoned Erie Estate, long rumored to have ghostly tenants that roam the halls. Beware of what the camera can't see lurking in the corners, for vengeful spirits are lurking in the shadows waiting to strike.
I'll always have a soft spot for Erie Estate, even though it's not called Erie Estate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's the haunting of Erie State. But yeah, I'm excited for this just because this will be like the second year with this under its belt kind of thing, and I'm curious to see if they've got more props or more things of what they're possibly going to do, because
More
last
with
year kind
the
of felt like
paranormal
yeah,
or whatever,
it felt,
Sandusky Paranormal Society.
it felt a little rushed last year. They might have ran into some time constraints or some supply chain issues or something. So it'll be interesting to see if it's like that last year. Because I mean, I liked it last year. It was all right. It was something different.
I mean,
so.
it was Erie Estate.
Right. So yeah, it's good.
All right, so that's it for the houses. Karsten, you want to run us through the scare zones?
Oh yeah, let me tell you, there is a lot of scare zones this year. I'm gonna save the new one for last. First of all, we've got the Blood on the Bayou. I'm not going to explain those or anything. We all know what the Blood on the Bayou is. It's on, I believe it's on Frontier Island.
Yep.
Still, which
Yep.
is, I mean, we've been riding Millennium Force all season, and we've seen nothing's
The
changed on the
props all
island, and it
season.
looks like it's ready to go. All they got to do is flip a switch and put some fog on, and you're ready to
Oh,
go.
yeah.
So you got Blood in the Bayou, which I personally like. I thought it was really good. There's a bunch of people that are running around in ghillie suits and stuff, and especially if it's dark and the fog is getting really thick and stuff, like it's pretty good. And then after that, we've got Cornstalkers 2.0, Revenge of the Pumpkinheads. Nothing. I mean, Cornstalkers is fun. I think it's going to be really good, especially like people hiding in the corn and things like that. Like it's not going to be. I mean, it's going to be the same as past years, but it's really good to get some good scares. So
Yeah, the best
if
thing they
you're
ever did for Cornstalkers was do the 2.0 thing and make it almost you have to walk through single file and the corn is right up against your face, and
yeah,
it's really
yeah,
really good for scares.
there's not a whole lot of movement there. So yeah, and they
Yeah.
pump it full of fog, and
And they
you know,
purposely in spots keep it really quiet so it really feels like you're just walking in the middle of the
yeah.
cornfield even though you're actually walking in Thunder Canyon's trough.
Oh, right.
But
Yeah, you have no idea that there's a
there's
water
points
right.
where it's like it's really quiet and all I hear is the rustling of corn and somebody's going to jump out at some point and I hate this.
Yeah. Yeah. Next is going to be Cutthroat Cove. This one's always I like this one because it's like
I
the
always really like this one.
pirate ship or pirate themed or whatever. And then they always, I walk through it where they'll be like, "What are you doing, Swabby? You need to swab the deck." And I'm like, "Well, give me the mop." And they're like, "No, you can't touch the mop." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm not going to swab the deck." I also like that they have like the the gun that goes off or the canyon that goes off and things like that. That's also a nice little touch. Just to note, it does actually, this is new this year. It says it closes at 11 p.m. on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So that's interesting.
Which is also the only days it is open.
Right. Yeah. So, an early close of that. Maybe it's because I know we would go through there like late during the night or whatever.
Nobody ever goes through there at 11:50 at night.
Right. So maybe that's why, because obviously, like it's more open than Cornstalkers. I can see Cornstalkers staying open until midnight, but Cornstalkers, but Cutthroat Cove is only up until 11 p.m. just because maybe it's not as scary. I guess I don't know.
And Cutthroat Cove, it's not actually one of the midways. It is a separate entity to some degree, even though you don't have to wait in line for it. So
Right. Which, yeah.
I guess, but Blood on the Bayou is the same way, and they're not closing that at 11. So I don't know.
Yeah. And then Tombstone Territory, that's over there by Maverick, and on the midway by Maverick and Steel Vengeance.
Just all Frontier Town, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. That one's always it's always either hit or miss with me. It just depends on like the kind of night and if the fog is sticking. Because if you go on a really good humid night, and because I'm a nerd and I kind of like watch all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, cool, the humidity's up or something, and I'll be like, at least I think that's what it is.
It might be the other way around, but
it could be, yeah. To where the fog will actually stick, and then if the fog sticks, it works really, really well. And then last but not least is the brand new one. It's actually not on the trail where everyone's probably thinking it was going to be. It's actually going to be on the Gemini Midway. I'm super excited about this.
This sounds really cool and different.
It's called Clowns with a Z, Death Metal Tour. And I will read this. Diehard fans of the infamous clown-faced rock band known as Butchers of Rock have gathered for a one-night only concert filled with headbanging, murderously music. I'm butchering that. Wow. Metal music and guitar licks that will pierce right through you become one of the metalheads of mayhem as your sinister fandom drives you insane.
That is quite the write-up.
Right.
And I also want to mention that this one has a show associated with it. So you got the scare zone on the midway, but then also there's a little stage set up where the old Snoopy bounce house used to be. And it's the Butchers of Rock show. The park website doesn't list show times for some reason. But
maybe it's just going to be
does.
like, maybe it's just going to be, oh, it does? Okay.
Yes, the app does list show times, and I could probably bring it up right now. But
Yeah, you
there's
bring
a
it up.
show that's going to be associated with the Scare Zone, which is going to be really interesting to see how that works.
I'm super excited that they're decided to start using the Gemini Midway again, because I mean, honestly, like that, I like that placement, because like if it was over on Frontier Town, I don't feel like clowns per se would be like super scary, just because like just the trees, and I don't know, like I kind of feel like it more clowny, more circusy ish, I
Yeah.
guess you could say, on the Gemini Midway compared to the Frontier Trail.
So I got the show times.
Yep.
So the times that you want to walk through Clown's Death Metal Tour to have the full experience with the Butchers of Rock show going on is the first show, and each of these run for a half an hour. The first show time is 8:15, then 9 o'clock, then 10 o'clock, then 10:45. So
I don't think they're going to be half-hour shows. They're probably like maybe 5 or 10-minute shows.
No. They're listed as half hour.
Oh, really?
I didn't read the whole thing, but like on the app it says
Wow.
8:15 to 8:45, and then 9 o'clock to 9:30, and then 10 o'clock to 10:30, and 10:45 to 11:15.
Interesting. We'll definitely have to check that out.
Yep.
I'm excited. Like I said, Clowns is pretty scary to a lot of people. So it's like Carnival, I guess, returns, but in a more rock bandy, sinister way, I guess. But yeah, so I'm excited for a new zone too. Like, I know it was
something brand new.
We were hearing that, obviously there was going to possibly be a new haunted house, but I didn't really hear anything about a new zone, so it's pretty cool. So
yeah,
I don't think I have anything else, Evan. Since me and Kyle have done the houses and everything, I know HalloWeekends is going to have a ton of food, and Evan and I got invited.
Continue.
I was going to say we got invited by Tony to in a couple weeks to take a gander at all of this food, so we'll be able to give a good review on all the food that is coming up this fall. But Evan, you want to give us a little taste of what's to come?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm going to mention that since we were talking about kind of a show with killer clowns or whatever the heck it's called, there is other, of course, nighttime shows. Midnight Syndicate will be back. They are going to be on the main stage. They are only on Fridays and Saturdays. Then there's, of course, the usual cast of shows. There's opening ceremonies on Fridays and Saturdays at, hold on, 7 o'clock, which I'm sure will feature Mr. Midnight and all that good stuff. There's the Telltale Heart show that I know has been very popular in the past few years. And yeah, we don't really care about shows outside. I shouldn't say we don't care. We don't usually watch shows that aren't Midnight Syndicate. So
I'll give them a chance.
Yeah,
it just depends on like what kind of music I hear and stuff and everything. And I mean, honestly though, if we'll talk about shows real quick, Cedar Point shows are actually pretty good. Like I've been to
for sure.
Some other parks, and I'm not going to name them, but some of their shows are not up to snuff, and you're like, and I'm like, I want to leave now. But like the lighting's really good, the fog's really good, vocals are normally pretty good. Like everything, like their talent that they were able to pick out and stuff and everything are really good. So if you have opportunity and get a drink and watch a show.
And I mean, the opening ceremonies last year and the Midnight Syndicate show last year were so good.
It gets you in the mood. It gets you pumped up. It gets you
I'm disappointed that they're not doing opening ceremonies at the very least on Thursday nights, because I know that that feels like the right way to start up the haunt season tomorrow. And it's like, oh, there's no opening ceremonies. It just
it could be staffing issues possibly. I'm not 100% sure. I know that
it is what it is. I'm just sad.
Yeah.
So anyways, now on to the food, because this is what I talk about.
Yes.
So I don't know if any of this will be on the meal plan. I guess we'll report on that next week. But so I will just get right into it. There's a whole list of HalloWeekends food, both entrees and desserts and whatnot.
I know last year none of the food was included on the meal plan. So
yeah. So first up, we have the Wings of Fire smoked chicken wings. This will be at the Backbeat Q. Smoked and fried whole chicken wings tossed in extremely hot sauce. And the picture shows like they are red, and there's jalapenos on them too. So I'm super excited for this because I love hot wings.
I'm really
yeah,
excited as well, but I'm like nervous because I'm like, are they going to be really, really hot?
extremely hot sauce.
Because I'm
pizzas?
like,
If any of them are going to be on the meal plan, I feel like it's going to be this one because the smoked chicken wings are already on the meal plan.
I'm like, can I get a glass of milk, mommy?
Yeah.
My mouth is gonna be on fire.
God, if those are on the meal plan, I'm in danger. So, Farmhouse, you will be seeing me, or not Farmhouse, I'm sorry, Backbeat, you will be seeing me tomorrow.
Nice.
Or
Yes.
whenever I'm there. This weekend. You will see me this weekend multiple
Yes.
times, especially if it's on the meal plan. Anywho, moving on. We have bread bowls, the Farmhouse Kitchen and Grill, choice of Farmhouse Kitchen and Grill signature chili, or broccoli and cheddar soup served in onion Gruyere bread bowl with toppings.
I
So
also
chili
really
has
hope
sour cream and onions and
this
all
is
that.
on the meal plan
The
because
chili is,
but oh my gosh, I'm a sucker for
and it's like
broccoli cheddar soup. Like,
and it's the fall now, so like we're geared up for bread bowls with soup and chili.
right, it's supposed to be cold and fall feeling, and
Yeah.
we'll see if that gets here in Ohio this year. I don't know.
It's gonna be nice and cool for opening night tomorrow.
Perfect. Cedar Point, like literally, or I swear they order this weather. Like it literally is like 80 or 90 degrees when like, or 90 or 100 degrees when the water parks open. They're like, oh hey, by the way, we flipped the switch and water parks
HalloWeekends
closed
is starting and the high is 65.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, love that. And then next up we have maple sausage on a stick at Hot Potato. So that's sweet maple sausage on a stick dipped in funnel cake batter, served with a spicy sriracha maple syrup.
I'm
kind of
excited
on
to
this
try
until I
that.
heard the spicy sriracha.
I'm excited
in on
to
that.
try it. Like it's literally, to describe it, it's literally like a corn dog with like it's obviously
But funnel cake
with
and sausage.
Yeah, instead of like a hot dog. So
It's like a
yeah.
It reminds me of like if a McGriddle was spicy.
I guess it's really bad to do this podcast before I ate because that
Yeah.
I like want to eat the screen right now. It looks so good.
Yes. Then next up, we have the cheesecake chimichanga at the Grand Pavilion Snack Bar. So the snack bar is upstairs. You're not going to see it downstairs. It is upstairs. Go upstairs. Because I can't tell you how many people I see walking in Grand Pavilion and be like, oh, where are the chicken wings? Go upstairs. They're up there.
Yep.
Anyways, so this is New York style cheesecake wrapped in a wonton wrapper and fried, topped with apple pie topping and caramel sauce finished with powdered sugar. Yeah, that sounds good.
Think I mean cheesecake, like hello.
And apple pie.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be really good. I can't wait to try it.
So sweet though.
I'm a huge caramel fan, so I mean it. Yeah.
Continuing, another dessert. We have pumpkin pie spiced churros at French Quarter Confections. Fried churro sticks rolled in pumpkin pie spiced sugar, topped with apple pie filling again, and caramel sauce.
I like churros, so
this is one that I'm just like, this is gonna be too sweet for me. I'm not even gonna try it. So
I'll yeah.
So let me know.
Okay. Fair.
And then I'm loving the spicy stuff. Nashville chicken and waffle at the Corral. Nashville tossed chicken tenders served over pearl sugar waffle. So, Karsten, you remember last year you and I were freaking out about Nashville hot chicken that was served at the Corral during HalloWeekends. They heard us and they're bringing it back, but this time they're putting it on a waffle too.
I'm super excited about it because the picture makes it look really, really good.
I love that both chicken dishes, the chicken is like blood red, and it's just like, that's gonna be spicy,
right? I mean, yeah, Nashville chicken's supposed to, I believe Nashville chicken's supposed to be spicy.
Yes, yes.
So, I'm interested over it says the pearl sugar, like the pearl or served over a pearl sugar waffle. I don't know what pearl sugar is. I don't know.
Just looks like a Belgian waffle to me.
Right. I mean, chicken and waffles.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Except from a Sheetz in the middle of no man's land, Ohio, that I stopped at on the way home from Hershey. That didn't end well. Anyways. And then the last entree is Oktoberfest pizza from Hugo's Italian Kitchen. artesian pizza topped with mashed red skin potatoes, cheddar cheese, smoked kielbasa, sauerkraut, and finished with caraway seeds. Interesting.
I mean, I'll try the pizza. Like, I'm not like opposed to it. Like, it looks good in the pictures. Like, if anybody wants to see any of these pictures, are on Cedar Point's website, their HalloWeekends website. If you scroll all the way down, you can find the select flavors of HalloWeekends, I believe is what the link's called. But yeah,
It's that sounds interesting.
it's almost like a Hawaiian pizza, but
it's the German. It's a German pizza. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
it's
weird.
with the smashed redskins, and it's gonna be very
sauerkraut,
potatoey, and
it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a lot of weird consistencies going on.
I'll have to try it just to to see if I like it or not.
And then last but not least, we have 2 different cupcakes that'll be served at Farmhouse. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Frontier Inn.
If anybody doesn't know where Frontier Inn, I'm gonna let Evan collect his thoughts. It's where the Chick-fil-A used to be, over there in the corner.
Under Mavericks Lift Hill, next to Fear Freak Show, and next to Farmhouse.
Yes.
So anyways, 2 different cupcakes. The first one is the spider cupcake, which is the one I want. It's a chocolate cupcake with mallow frosting and sponge sugar webbing, topped with a chocolate spider.
The spider looks real.
Yeah, it does. And this just looks really good in general. And then we have the not so poison apple cupcake. It's apple and cinnamon cupcake with buttercream frosting and a red candy apple half shell.
I'm excited for the buttercream frosting because I love buttercream frosting. So, I mean, they all look good. And like I said, if you want to see pictures, go on Cedar Point's website.
And these aren't listed anywhere, but I can almost guarantee that there's going to be specialty drinks all over the park, and of course the zombie blood bags and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that'll be
and
returning.
Then I'm gonna also read through the ride availability just because it is different at this time of year. So then you can find this info on the park website, of course, but they have it broken down really nice for everybody, for depending on what day you're visiting. So these attractions are closed on Thursdays, period. The park's only open from 6 to midnight anyways, but these attractions are closed the whole day on Thursdays. Camp Snoopy, Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad, Corkscrew, Gemini, and Professor Delbert's Frontier Fling.
I know what. I think Kyle's bummed that Corkscrew's closed on Thursday.
I'm torn.
I liked Corkscrew. That's fun. I like Arrow Loopers. So,
yeah. Well, that makes one of us. The following attractions are closed on Fridays: Camp Snoopy, Corkscrew, Gemini, Professor Delbert's Frontier Fling. So on Fridays, you're gaining Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad back. And then these attractions are just closed on during HalloWeekends: Thunder Canyon, Snake River Expedition, Snake River Falls.
Water rides. Wah, wah.
Duh. And then additional information on attraction operating hours. All kids rides areas will close at 10 p.m. when the park is open until 10 p.m. or later. So while Kiddie Kingdom is open on Thursdays and Fridays, it closes at 10 p.m. Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad will close at 7 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, so that traffic can actually move in the back of the park. Cedar Creek Mine Ride, Windseeker, and Slingshot will open at noon on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The park opens at 11, but those rides will open at noon. Gemini and Professor Delbert's Frontier Fling will open at noon on Saturdays and Sundays. Again, the park opens at 11, but those rides will open at noon.
I'm curious.
But Gemini and Professor Delbert are just listed differently because they're not open on Fridays.
I'm curious to see if they forgot to put like Mine Ride and also Windseeker. Well, maybe not Mine Ride, but Windseeker on for not opening on Thursdays. So I guess we'll see if it's open.
Yeah.
On Thursdays,
nice.
but yeah, I mean,
I'm not gonna. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but Windseeker tends not to operate a whole lot during HalloWeekends, anyways, just for XYZ reasons. So.
And that's one of my. I like. That's a fun ride. I like it,
especially at night with all the fog. It looks super
with all the
cool.
fog, all the cool lights that it has.
Is Mine Ride good?
Mine Ride's just open, period.
Is it getting its Halloween overlay this year?
They didn't say anything about it, but I feel like they kind of always do that.
You know, I don't think actually, maybe, unless I don't remember. I don't remember Windseeker ever having an overlay. I do remember the giant wheel.
Mine Ride.
Yeah, I said Mine Ride.
Mine Ride.
Oh, you're talking about when they
do
Mine Ride.
Yeah, Mystic Mine Ride.
You know, I don't think they've done that, but they.
I don't ride mine right enough to
Yeah,
know.
I will write it and report back.
Yeah. But
anywho, I was gonna say the availability though seems to be really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
like
a little
normally
sad
it's
about-
like 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 different coasters and a bunch of flat rides that are closed, but it looks
Yeah.
like a lot of the rides for the most
I'm
part.
super happy Wild Mouse is open. I mean,
Yeah.
not that it wouldn't be, but that'll be fun. And I'm
Yeah.
sad about Gemini. Gemini's always fun, but especially it'll be really awesome to ride that on Saturday nights with fog rolling in from the Gemini Midway.
Well, you'll be able to ride Gemini on Saturday.
Yeah, but a little
You know.
sad about Thursdays and Fridays, but it is what it is.
Or
Anyways.
yeah. So I don't know. I think it's good.
All right. Is that
Really
gonna?
excited. HalloWeekend starts tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Is that gonna wrap up HalloWeekends?
I think so.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean,
All
Just
right.
that I'm excited.
So
We're
I
excited
love this time of year
for the-
so much.
for the fall event to start and everything, and
Fridays in September are my favorite time of year my favorit visits of the year. So
you should try
super
Thursdays in
excited.
September.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that maybe this year finally, because I've never actually been on a Thursday night.
yes.
All right. So before we segue into this next part of the podcast, I have 2 disclaimers. The first one is if you are only interested in listening about Cedar Fair news, you can go ahead and exit the podcast at this time. Please be sure to exit to the right and collect all your loose articles before departing the station. Disclaimer number 2. If you continue to listen, just be warned that we are going to go in detail and give spoilers of this year's Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Florida. So if you have a trip booked later in the year and you don't want to know, this is not the part of the podcast you should listen to, and I urge you to turn it off now.
And just re-listen to our preview from last week.
Yes. For those of you who are still listening and are excited about Halloween Horror Nights, much like myself, we are going to go kind of in depth. We're already at almost an hour. So not like super in depth, but all 3 of us were there this past weekend, albeit at different times, but all 3 of us were there and got to experience the event in full. So I live at Horror Nights this time of year. Carson got like a bunch of run-throughs on every house. So we're going to let you direct this conversation and take it any way you want to.
Nice. Sure.
No. I meant Evan, because he only got one run through of each house.
Yes.
Perfect.
So when do we want to hear my complaint about Frontier Airlines?
That's
'Cause
going to be the
kinda
last.
is a big part of this.
That could be the last.
You can mention briefly what happened, but we'll go into it at the end.
So first off, my initial plan was supposed to be fly down to Halloween Horror Nights on Friday night. We would be there in the park by like 7 p.m. We had Express Pass. We were ready to roll. Frontier canceled our flight, and we didn't get to Orlando period until 8 a.m. the next morning. So that sucked, but we were able to get through all of Islands of Adventure and then some. The park really wasn't busy at all on Saturday, which was awesome. And then go over to Halloween Horror Nights, and we did manage to get through every house still, thanks to we were able to buy an after 11 p.m. Express Pass, which I didn't even know existed. So that was super awesome. We got through a few houses just by waiting in lines, and then we finished it up with that after 11 Express Pass. So anywho, this was my first Halloween Horror Nights. God, I don't even know where to start. It was hyped up, obviously, beyond belief. And I think it even exceeded those expectations, because
okay.
You don't go, for me, I wasn't going for the scares, even though they got me a good few times in some of the houses. You go to Halloween Horror Nights to just the immersion and to walk through a Hollywood or better, if there is such a thing, Hollywood or better level set. The immersion that you feel in each and every one of the houses, besides Chucky, I hated that one, is just beyond belief. Like if you're familiar with the Last of Us series, there's a scene there, a big part of the series is where Joel, the main character, is in a house and he's shooting at zombies or the infected or whatever down below. You're walking along the ground and you look up and you see a character who is Joel up in a house, a real full-blown house. And all the proper sound effects and quotes, and it's so wonderfully done. And I didn't get really the same effect out of Stranger Things, only because I didn't actually finish the season like I was supposed to. I only finished like the first 3 episodes, and God, did it spoil a lot. But I don't really know if I want to watch the rest of the season now because it's kind of getting sad.
Good.
But I mean, oh my God, I can't gush enough about it. And just the park atmosphere is awesome, and it's just amazing.
Did you have a favorite house?
At least the houses. What was that?
Did you have a favorite house?
My favorite house, and this is the one I was most excited for, was The Exorcist.
Okay.
That was like, to me, that was like the best mix of freaking terrifying and also just crazy level of immersion. There's a scene that I remember from the preview where the 2 little girls are like smacking on their hospital windows, like yelling at each other. And you walk in the haunted house at Horror Nights, you walk down a hallway where on one side it's one girl's in her window room and it's another, and on the other side it's another girl in hers. And it's, I mean, it sounds dumb almost when I'm talking about it, but when you actually see it, it's you don't even feel like you're there. Like you feel like you're in the film and you're just kind of a fly on the wall. It's insane.
Yeah. Exorcist it's a good house. I've not had great run-throughs of it so far this season, so actually I might go back tonight and just run through. I don't know.
Because you can.
Well, and there's still 5 hours left in the operating night, and I have Express. I could go over and do like 3 houses.
That's so awesome.
You suck. I'm just saying.
Well, you guys, you had
go do your Costco run, and go get to do a few houses. And
you had
talk about having summer houses. I'm gonna have a September and October home in Orlando, just so I can live there for 2 months and just live at Horror Nights.
You guys sent your like house rankings, which by the way, I will not rank houses until at least this Friday, at least week 3. But you guys had both sent your rankings, and I think you both had Blood Moon and Exorcist in your top 5. And, like, those aren't really up in my top 5 at the moment.
I was going to say, do we want to share?
Freaking out about Blood Moon.
Do we want to share our list?
Yeah. We can share our list. I'm going to modify mine just because I'm not giving rankings. I'm going to do, like, top tier houses so far, but not in any specific order, middle of the pack, and bottom tier houses.
Okay. Evan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so if you remember our last episode, we each gave our like pre-Halloween Horror Nights hype list. So I was bored during my lunch break today, and I did my post-visit list, but I also like did the math and just kind of counted like, okay, so this one dropped X amount of spots from my pre-visit ranking, and this one gained X amount of spots because of my pre-visit ranking.
I don't
know. It was just interesting to me, and I was actually, except for like 2 of them, I was pretty much like, it was exactly what I expected. So anyways, so my least favorite, and it's so far away from the rest of them, it's not even worth, like, it shouldn't even be in the same conversation. I hated Chucky. It's at the bottom. It was my 9th hyped house, and it ended up being my least favorite house. So I hated it. And that was my first house I went through. So in a way, that was a good thing because it only went up from there. But I don't know. It just felt loud and obnoxious, and I hated it. So I was more excited to actually go through the Fast and Furious queue because I've never actually ridden the ride, but it was fun to actually finally see the queue.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah. So then next was Universal Monsters, which I'm going to put a star next to this one only because I had a terrible run through. I don't know if it was people, if it was guests, or if there was a guest issue or what, but probably 3 times during our run of the house, we just came to a stop for no explainable reason. So I don't know what was going on, but that really ruined it for me. This dropped 4 spots in my ranking. the coolest thing about it was when you enter and you're like kind of on the streets of Paris and it's like literally raining and there's, the dude up high like yelling at you about something. I couldn't even really hear him, but
Clear the streets. Everybody
Yeah.
out.
yes, that. So that was like that. Talk about a wow factor as soon as you walk into a house. That was super cool.
Raining and thunderstorming. Told
Yeah.
you.
I mean, it was literally raining inside of that particular spot in the house. So
Yep.
cool. So then next up was Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. This is one, it only dropped one spot in my ranking. I don't know. I didn't hate it. Again, anything that's not Chucky, I did really like the house. It was really hard to rank beyond them. But
Yeah.
anyways, I didn't have the greatest run through of Dr. Oddfellow, so that's why it's as low as it is. Next up was Darkest Deal. This one actually gained a spot in my rankings, and I did truly really like this one. There were some really cool effects I thought with like the main character.
The deed is done.
Yeah.
I
And then
was
they
just
show you,
about
like, the
to say
signing
that.
of the
Oh,
deed.
that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then pine straw spruce or
Pine
whatever the
straw
heck his name-
spruce.
Yeah. The
Yep.
main character who's, signing away his soul or whatever. There was a really cool scene towards the end of the house where he's on stage and like he gets like possessed and you see his eyes go like white. That was an awesome effect. That was super cool.
And then
I'm glad
and then the devil
saw it.
comes and like grabs him and rips him off
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
Which
I'm glad I actually saw that happen because the timing of it happened like behind me, but I knew something was gonna happen, so I kept an eye on them.
and that's cool to see too. Like I just mentioned, the contact scare, because that is something that's sorely been missing from Horror Nights since the pandemic. This is the first year they've brought him back.
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool. Super, super cool. So next was Yeti Campground Kills. This one, if you remember, I was apologizing profusely for putting this at the bottom of my list just because I didn't get it. I didn't get why this is a thing. But I really, really liked it. The immersion walking through a forest, like and through a cabin and next to a cabin
And you were also walking like a cabin that was like on the water too.
yeah, I mean it unbelievable, absolutely insane. It wasn't
pretty
necessarily really big on scares, but it was just cool.
I think Kyle, you were with me or whatever when I was like, hey, it's the bear. Everybody likes the bear. And he goes and like after his like little like scare thing or whatever, like his seconds are up or whatever. And so he was just like standing there, and all of a sudden he just claps his paws and goes bump
Yeah.
bump, and I'm like, yes, the
That was
bear.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know how I remember that because that was like 1 a.m. after I'd worked all day, and
Yep.
that was a day for me. But we did like 4 houses in an hour that night. That was
Yeah, we
pretty
rocked it.
pretty legit.
That's awesome. Was that Friday night?
Yes.
Yeah, I was at home pouting. Actually, no, I was asleep because I had a flight to catch in like 3 hours. To the point of the bear though, when we were waiting in line for the house, they were doing their like shift change, and the whole crew of new people were coming in, and they were standing outside the house, and you see the bear standing there. The whole like bazillion people waiting in line just started chanting bear, 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 and he's like looking around like, yeah. It was so funny.
That's good. I love it.
Yeti's definitely kind of, I think Kyle, you had mentioned there's kind of like the funny house. I don't know if this is necessarily the funny house of the year, but it has its memes.
Yeah, it's not. The comedy house of the year is supposed to be Chucky.
Yeah, well, Chucky.
I honestly think that. No, you go.
I think that you just got a really bad run through of Chucky because it's up there for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you're right, but I don't know. I don't like
See,
that story to begin with.
I know that wasn't your plan to only go one night, but that's why you can never just go one night.
I know. Yeah, we would have probably gotten every house at least twice had we been there the planned amount of time.
And it's I think also it was cool. Like Yeti almost felt like if anyone's rode ET, it almost felt like it was like ET. They were like looking in the woods for like the lost kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Which
ET.
side note, I got to ride ET for the first time this trip, which was
Yeah.
So the last time we saw a Yeti house was in 29, so that would have been 2019. And that was Yeti Terror of the Yukon, and it was like Canadian snow Yetis. I like this one better. So that's
I like these Yetis better too. I agree.
cool. So next up, we have Blood Moon Dark Offerings, which gained a spot in my rankings. I did really like this one. This was one that I thought was going to be like the mega creepy one, and it totally was because it just has the culty
Oh my
thing going
gosh.
on with
Yeah,
the little kids in the circle like hanging
yeah.
somebody or
You
whatever.
get to go in like there's a like a church or something, and they're like being like all culty, and people are like,
God,
And
yes,
so
the
they
church
shall
scene.
die.
I forgot about that. Oh, the church scene was
Yeah.
horrifying.
I like
Yeah.
when they a couple times throughout the house they chant, and so they shall die.
yes, yeah. And then what's
Yes.
crazy is like again, this is a crazy spoiler, but like the person that like there's like a bunch of people like sitting in church pews, like it's a huge area, and like all of a sudden they just start
Mhm.
randomly like jumping up and jumping out and things like that. I'm like, whoa.
Yes, horrifying. But awesome. So
Like,
awesome.
it was really, really good. I liked it a lot. I did like
Yeah.
it a lot. And then also, I don't know if anyone they were burning a body, and I got a whiff of like they were having like the smell of like a burning smell, so you could smell like kind of like a burning fire per se, like or whatever. So that was a nice little extra touch that I noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was really
And then
good. I
also
forgot
it
about
was
that
cool to
church
see
scene.
you could see the blood moon like 2 or 3 times like through that house and
Yeah,
stuff, and I thought it was
like you
really
walk
cool.
in and you look up and that's what you see.
Yeah.
So that was super cool.
I really like the part
Stranger
of that
Things.
house. Real quick, I like the part of that house where the guy is up on the bell tower, actually ringing the bell.
He's ringing the bell.
That's
cool.
Because I don't think Cedar Point has ever had anything that's like quote unquote 2 stories. So just every time there was a character in an elevated position, it was like super, super mind blowing to me.
Evan's just giving a golf clap, like, thank you.
Yeah, I was literally the amount of times I would like walk in a room and just go, "Oh my god, this is so cool."
The amount of budget that they're able to put in compared to like Cedar Point or Cedar Fair
this isn't
or
a
Six
knock on Cedar
Flags.
Point. Just Universal just has a different level of money that they can
Yeah.
put into this.
I mean, what Cedar Point and all the other like regional parks and smaller parks and everything can do is good too. But this is just on like a movie set scale kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. So, anywho, next up was Stranger Things for me. This one didn't change ranking at all. I feel like I would have really loved it a lot more had I actually finished the season. But it was an awesome house, and
it's a good season.
Like it starts with first you hear Dustin's voice over, describing Vecna, and he's a wizard and blah 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 blah. And then you walk into.
Did you look in the one room where you like look up or whatever, and you can see the upside down world? You can see like Dustin like standing and stuff and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. That was really cool. I like that.
That was super cool effect. And then just like the first scene where you walk into what was his face? Billy. No, Eddie. Yeah. Eddie's trailer, and there's the scene, where he's telling what's her face to wake up and. Oh my god! And the scene with 11 is on one side of the hallway, and she's attacking the thing on the other side of the hallway, and
Vecna,
which I actually haven't gotten that part in the show.
Yeah, that's a really good battle scene. That's like towards the end of the season, but yeah,
a lot of things were spoiled in that one. Like I said, I'm not sure I actually want to finish the season at this point because I feel
it's good.
It's
good. It's good.
So yeah, next up was The Last of Us, and this one dropped a spot, but that's only because I love Dueling Dragons as much as I did. So yeah, Last of Us. This was another just insane level of immersion. This is a show that I actually did watch the whole thing through, so it was just that much more just mind blowing. That was the first one I could really appreciate the level of detail that they can put into this. It was just. Oh my god, the way that they nailed the biggest scenes of the show were so cool. So yeah. And then next is Dueling Dragons, which I got to do twice, and I got to choose my fate twice, and I chose both sides, and I guess there's different endings, like sometimes the wizard dude lives and sometimes he doesn't. I got one of each. This one again, this was less about scares and more about immersion, although they did scare me a good couple times.
There was a really good it was like it's almost like a battle between red and blue kind of thing.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
And what's cool is like they're like I don't know, doing their
Above you.
sorcery powers and stuff, and like they would be like, oh, we're gonna shoot the red guy, and then all of a sudden, like all the light or all the rocks and crystals and things would be like right next to the blue guy, and it would turn all red, and it would like kind of, it was really well
The
done.
special effects in that house were insane, and just like walking into the castle, like over the little drawbridge, and then walking into a different spot, and there's just the two giant freaking dragons.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That was just to me, my jaw was on the floor the entire house. It was so cool. And
that cool special effects definitely saved it from my original ranking after I thought about everything and kind of put everything like in my head together.
This was a house that I think because I haven't ridden the roller coaster and I don't have the nostalgia, it was just like, wow, this is a really cool and weird theme for a haunted house, and it was just really freaking cool.
I was like waiting for them to be like, oh, hey, by the way, you can touch the track that we don't have anymore. I was like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, that was really cool. But yeah, I love Dueling Dragons, and I really did think about putting it at number 1. But again,
it was a good coaster.
It was number 1.
Yeah, it was a good coaster.
I wish I'd ridden it, but Exorcist did stay at number 1. That is what I anticipated being number 1. I kind of already explained it, but yeah, that's Halloween Horror Nights 32. My first, and definitely will not be my last. I will be back year after year because it is just,
it hooks you.
I'm sad I went so early in the season because now I'm going to spend the next 2 months being jealous.
Yeah, right. Kyle's like, oh, I'm gonna go use my express and go boop and go be like, oh, I'm gonna go do The Last of Us and Stranger Things.
Yeah, I think after we wrap up, I'm gonna head over, do a couple houses.
And he's not kidding, guys. That's actually gonna happen.
Not. The
He'll send us a picture in about
he's
2 hours of him in line at Yeti.
He's got the $900 pass, so he better.
Oh, it wasn't that much. Come on.
7.
It was $850.
Okay,
no, it wasn't even in the 800s.
Whatever it was, it's worth it. Clearly,
I'm gonna run through my top 10 list really quick.
Yeah,
I don't know where everything was at. If you want to listen to last week's episode, sure, you can listen to that and get a rundown on that. Ding. Anyway, so Last of Us, I know that for a fact is the very is last on my list, and it started last on my list. And then coming up, I'm sorry, Kyle. I know that you kind of gave us a preview of what your top 3 were. It's going to be Universal Monsters. I just never really got into it. Never really. I hated the kid to be like, extra, read all about it. Couldn't stand it. I was like wanting to pull my hair out every single time I did it. And it was just, I wasn't a super fan of it. Next on the list, I'm sorry, Dean, is Yeti. Yeti is going to be 7th on my list. I did have that. Looks like I had that 6th on the list. So it's not far from where I thought it was going to be. And then, I'm sorry, Evan, Dragons was next on my list.
I think I'm the only one that likes dragons.
I like dragons. Okay. This is the first time since I've been going to horror nights that there's not a bad house or one that I'd be like, I don't really want to do that.
I do have to say, disclaimer, it was really hard to come up with this top 10 list because I was like, was like really good, and I had to
on my last place. I couldn't. It was really difficult.
It's very close between last and first for me. Like honestly, it's a solid year. I'm so happy that it feels like it's back.
Yeah, this is like I said, this is the first year that there's not a bad house, but bad in quotation marks because none of them are ever bad. This is the first year that anyone could say any house is their favorite, and I could be like, yeah, that checks out. That's accurate.
Yeah. 5th on my list is going to be Chucky. Same thing as well. I did actually rank that 5th before going into it. Unfortunately, Stranger Things slid down from the 2nd position from my pre to 4th or 5th. I think I messed up the numbers again.
That's great. You're at 5.
Anyway, the reason is there wasn't and Kyle, you can kind of attest to it since Evan, you didn't get to see a whole lot of it. The killer scene, I wanted more of that, the music that she listens to, when she's in the attic at the very end, there wasn't a whole lot of that music in there. I did hear it a little bit in the room where you're in, I guess, the upside down world where Vecna kind of lives, where the clocks are kind of upside down and all sideways and stuff and everything.
Cool.
That was a really cool room. And then also I wish that they showed a little bit more of the characters per se. Like there wasn't like, there wasn't help
You
me
didn't
out.
see Nancy at all. You didn't see Mike at all. You didn't see
You didn't.
Robin.
You
You
didn't
didn't
see
see.
Hopper. I can't believe you didn't see
That's it.
Hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like Hopper, or I was even think because you very very shortly go through like the quote unquote um uh, where where what was it, not the factory, the office area or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, where she was like trained up and stuff and everything, and
The
um
research center.
there it is. My brain's tired. Yeah, the research center. They didn't show a whole lot of that, but then also I was kind of like wondering if Papa was going to be around in there or something, and there wasn't like a whole lot of that, which was like I was
Yeah.
kind of sad. So I'm like they could have went a little bit further, and also I dinged it because there wasn't a whole lot of like clock. I thought there were going to be a lot more clock dingings, like
Yeah.
if anyone's seen the series, they know like what I'm talking
The
about.
clock is
Like
very important, and it didn't. It
right,
was there.
it was there,
but
but it wasn't like very pronounced and everything like
yeah,
that. So I was kind of like,
I get that.
which was, and it was nice that they did go through pretty much run through everything that of what happens in big, I guess you could say, in the season, and stuff like with the whole world like coming apart since,
It seems like it was kind of like episode by episode.
uh, I would say so. Yeah. Towards the end and everything, like it matched up and everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. A little disappointed on that. Maybe it was like a rights issue. Maybe they didn't want to pay the person that sings that song. I'm not sure exactly what. But yeah, so that's why it slipped down from number 2 on my original list. Number 4 is going to be The Darkest Deal. I freaking love that. I got to do that with Jim and Johnny. That was their first time as well going to horror nights. And they freaking
Darkest
loved
Deal
it.
was cool.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
I love the deed is done as soon as like you walk in and stuff and everything. It kind of
Mhm.
sets up with everything, and pretty good scary house. I did like there were some jump scares and things like that, which was really good. Dr. Oddfellow. After I got, so I don't even know if I told you this story, Kyle. I was walking through Dr. Oddfellow, and I was so trying to find the silhouettes and actually trying to find the face of Jack, because I thought you actually see his face, but you don't see Jack the Clown's face. You just see like a silhouette of him after I found out after the house and stuff. Well, anyway, I was trying to find it, and I was like really, really trying to find it. So I literally went to the left, and I was supposed to go straight, and I ended up where the scare actor was. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to find Jack, and he just like pointed, and he's just like, get out. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
So you see Jack after the room that has the screen in it where it looks like it's like a water tank.
Yeah.
Directly after that, you go in and you start pulling back the curtains, and off to your right, there's a silhouette of Jack and Oddfellow.
Yep. So I
saw it.
finally at the very, very last, like the very last night, I'm like, I'm doing it one more freaking time. I'm gonna see it. And so I literally like walked real slow, and I'm like, I finally saw it. Yes. I'm like, all right. HHN complete. So yeah. So that was Dr. Oddfellow. Coming in number 2 is actually gonna be Exorcist. And I had that like middle of the pack on my original list. I thought Exorcist was really good. I thought
loved Exorcist.
it was really interesting where the girl like was like she was getting possessed and she started shaking, like this props off to the scare actor that was like really going into it, but she started shaking profusely and going crazy and just kind of like looking like really odd. That was really really like a really, really good touch. And then obviously number 1 is going to be Blood Moon. I loved it. First of all, you had the jump scares. Second of all, you also had a few you also had a few doors, like the trap doors that fly down and get
The
you
drop
like,
panels.
yeah. They had a few of those in there, which was really nice, and it kind of felt like a nod, I guess, to Cedar Point. And I'm like, oh yeah, Cedar Point. They've got those drop down windows.
Freak Show's got a couple of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. And so they were really, really good. And the Blood Moon, like you felt like you were outside, indoors.
Yeah.
And like I said, the whole thing of the church and not knowing who was going to be,
Oh, the
who's
church
real and
was
who's
so
not,
freaky.
kind of thing.
That was so well done.
That's that's my list. Kyle, do you want to finish us off?
Yes, I do. Again, I would like to put a couple prefaces. I'm not huge on ranking houses because there's not a bad house at the event, and I feel
It's
like
hard. It's hard.
and I feel like by saying, "Oh, this one's number 10," that's a little bit of an insult to the actors who work in those houses, who put their heart and soul into it every night. The planning and design team who puts literally hundreds of days every year into planning them out. And I love, like, don't get me wrong, like, everyone has a favorite, whatever. I would just
Calling me out for my hate for Chucky.
No, I would just like to stress that by placing a house in what I'm about to call the bottom tier, I in no way mean that it is a bad house. They are all phenomenal this year.
I agree. Yeah, they were really super like spot on.
I just make it a personal rule of mine that I do not rank houses until at least week 3, just because they can be so drastically different one night to the next, and I like to get a couple under my belt for each house before I put a numerical value with that. That being said, I'm breaking mine down into 3 categories: my top tier, mid tier, and bottom tier.
Ooh.
So, currently in my top tier, we have Universal Monsters Unmasked.
Okay.
Doctor
You got some good runs through there where I guess me and Karsten did not.
I did. It's the house I've done the most at the event this year, and I love it. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of walking.
Yep. Dr. Oddfellows is also in that category. Followed by Yeti and Dueling Dragons.
Okay.
Yes, Dueling Dragons.
All right.
That's all I have to say.
Mid tier for me is Darkest Steel, Blood Moon Dark Offerings, and Chucky.
Okay. Yeah, that I was just say that I think we did Chucky with you, and that was a good run through
Yes.
with that.
And bottom tier is Stranger Things, Exorcist, and The Last of Us.
Wow.
Did I miss any?
That's 3 of my top 4.
Let's see. I got Exorcist, Stranger Things, Chucky, Last of Us, Mass, Oddfellow, Yeti. Yeah, I got them all.
Okay.
We have different tastes.
It's, to me, this year, Stranger Things, while it follows the story and the plot very, very well, fundamentally, it's not what I enjoy in a house. It's a lot of big open sets in empty rooms, and I mean, not empty rooms, but like, oh wow,
Wide, large rooms,
Yes.
not close encounters.
like I walk in, oh wow, I'm very clearly in a soundstage. I'm not really into that. Like I said,
I get that. I could see that.
House is done. My issue with Stranger Things is more of the way that it functions fundamentally as a house rather than the IP and the actual content.
Okay.
I get that.
Exorcist and Last of Us are just because I'm not super familiar with the IPs. For Last of Us, I've never seen the show or played the game, and Exorcist, I haven't watched an Exorcist movie in a very long time, and I know that this is like one that hasn't come out yet, and I still think it's a good house. It's just, it's missed the mark for me the multiple times I've been through it.
I get it. I think with Last of Us, for both of you, your opinions would be drastically different had you watched the show or played the game.
Yeah, and I'm sure they would, and that's another reason why I have a problem with rankings. Just because and I know it's all personal, but what I think is not very good, someone else like I don't think Exorcist is, for me personally, is all that great. Like, it's a good house, but I'm not familiar
Right.
with the IP. Versus someone like you, Evan, who is, you think it's one of the best houses at the event.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of said it. Like, I'm not knocking anybody's opinions, like, because there's, like you said, there's so many good houses, and there's so many different things that go into what we enjoy about each house. So it's definitely just like with roller coasters. It's definitely up to personal preference for sure.
And
Was
go ahead.
was Blood Moon in your top?
That was in my mid tier.
Okay. Hopefully you have some more better run.
Yeah, I still really like it. It's just a solid year, and Yeti, Monsters, Oddfellows, and Dueling Dragons are really up there for me.
Yeah, it was hard to definitely come up with this top 10 for sure. And I do like your
insane.
I do like your tier option, and I think I'm gonna do that next year because that'll be a lot easier to rank things.
Yes. I will say at this point in the event last year, 2 of the houses that I had ranked almost towards the bottom finished the season being 2 of my favorites. So anything can change at this point. I know for you guys,
Blood Moon baby.
Yeah, I know for you guys you're not coming back, but for me anything can happen.
God, I want to though.
At this point in the event last year, I had Halloween and The Weekend ranked pretty low. And Halloween finished the event second on my list, and Weekend finished third.
It's probably because we did The Weekend like 14 times that one night.
I grew to love The Weekend as the event went on, more just because of that like party atmosphere.
Yeah.
Halloween, I went in with a biased opinion that I had been to how many HHNs and there's always a Halloween house and they're never that good. And then once I got that bias out of my head and went through it with fresh eyes, I was like, this is really good. Like I loved last year's Halloween house.
I do have to say it's really cool that they have like an interactive button that you can push in the Chucky house. That was pretty cool.
That's also only the second time we've seen a house in that location. That replaced, Karsten, if you remember, the Sprung tent in between the Bill and Ted Theater and Men in Black.
Yeah.
So that's no longer there, and that house, quote unquote, has been moved over to that. So I don't have a problem. I didn't like Blumhouse last year. That's what was in there. I don't have a problem with Chucky. I think it's pretty good, but I think they'll continue to tweak that house as a physical house, no matter what the IP is, the longer they use it as a house.
For sure.
I wonder if that played into why I didn't like it so much.
Did you?
It's a new location that they aren't used to using yet.
Yeah, this is only year 2 of them using that, so just give them time for that one. But it's leaps and bounds better than Blumhouse was last year.
When you would randomly go in the one area of the house, whatever, where all the phones were, and you're just like,
Yeah. Evan, I have to ask, in Chucky, halfway through when you were back outside, did you think the house was over?
No, only because I'm like, that was way too short.
Okay.
I'm like, I've been through local haunts like up here, like in that take you outside and then back inside. So I wasn't like okay, I've only been in this house for like 2 minutes, and Horror Nights is better than this. I know it is. There's no way this house is over.
You're like, wow, that was really short. Glad they put the name on that.
Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up. I don't think this is the last time we'll see Stranger Things at the event, just because they have been confirmed for one more season. So we'll probably see season 5 next year.
And I'll make sure I actually watch all of the season before going through the house.
Hey, there you go.
Which
maybe.
Yeah, this is the third house we've seen. I know it's Stranger Things 4, but the first one was season 1, and then the second one was seasons 2 and 3 combined, and then this one's 4. Out of the 3, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe they, after Stranger Things 5, or if they come up with one, maybe they'll come up with like one that's like maybe the greatest Stranger Thing kills or something, or who knows.
Out of the ones that they've had, I think the first one was still my favorite. But like I said, it's early season, so there's a chance that I finish the event with Stranger Things 4 being my favorite.
Or maybe The Last of Us is going to be first. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. I've only gotten 3 on The Last of Us, so
you're like, I'm buying a PlayStation 5 and I'm going to play it and I'm going to figure it out because this house is awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And with that, we are going to wrap things up. I hope you guys have a great time at HalloWeekends this weekend. Please come back next week and let me hear all about it. I'll be living vicariously through you this weekend. That's all I got.
Yep, super excited for HalloWeekends to start. Hope you all enjoy listening to this episode while you are on your way to your first trip to HalloWeekends for the year. Enjoy all the food, enjoy all the haunts, and we'll see you next week.
And definitely make sure you share our podcast with all of your friends and relatives and everybody else. We really appreciate you listening, and love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Rundown on Fun. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things Cedar Fair. As always, be kind to your ride operators, and we will see you on the Midway. Good night.